Everyone just wants to live, laugh, love. But in this disappointing world, there are many who are
Hello?
faced with lies.
There's no way I'm actually dealing with a person that is this terrible of a human being.
How can she claim that she's pregnant with your child, but you have never had sex with her?
The more that you fight me, the more your lies get exposed.
This is Live, Laugh, Lies.
Okay, Clayton Echard, welcome to Live, Laugh, Lies.
Thank you for having me. This is, it's been a while since we've last spoke, so.
It's been a minute.
And I have a lot of crazy things to talk about.
Reunited, and it feels so good. If you're new here and not familiar with Clayton and Susie's dynamic, allow me to provide a bit more context. Back in 2021, Clayton starred as the lead on a little reality TV show called The Bachelor. 31 women competed for his heart.
We all want the same thing. These women will do whatever it takes.
I am falling in love, and it feels so good. No matter how much turmoil I might have to experience, it'll be so worth it. I'm so broken.
But only our very own Susie would win him over.
Get over here, big boy.
I'm falling in love with you.
Oh, I'm so happy.
Susie, will you accept this final rose?
Yes.
From finding love on TV, to dating in real life, to parting ways as dear friends, these two have a colourful history, and indeed some crazy things to talk about.
This actually feels kind of right.
We might be competing with who's messier at this point.
Who's messier?
Yeah.
Me inviting you on my podcast, you running into scandal after scandal, literally since coming
You were
off the show.
part of one of them.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, I also contributed, I guess, to part of that. But
Again, on the right side of things. Yeah, you helped shut it down very quickly.
I tried, but I also made you prove. Remember, I was like, you got to prove to me that this woman is not telling me the truth.
Oh, yeah, it was terrible.
Yeah.
I've realized a lot, actually, recently. I had an incredible conversation with this guy. I'm a part of a men's book club. I just joined it. But I talked to this guy last week, and we were talking about the whole experience on going on The Bachelor. And I was talking, he was asking me about like why things didn't work out with us. And I said, well, like in any relationship that there's two sides. So I said, there were certain things that I didn't agree with that she did, but there's things that I did that she didn't agree with. And he asked me, he's like, well, what do you think you could have done better? And I was thinking about it, and we were kind of chatting back and forth. And then he started talking about like the masculine versus feminine energy. And he said, the women like look to a man, not most, I can't, no absolutes, but look to a man to protect them, whether like physically, it could be from a security standpoint, like protecting the family with finances. But like women want a masculine energy to present, and there's a part of a feminine energy where like men also like suppress that, but they don't want someone to always be in their feminine as a man, where they're like always emotional. They want, a man to be able to carry that masculine energy. And he asked me, he said, do you feel like you carried that in your relationship? And I said, no. I said, I was a wreck the entire time that we dated. I was like, I was in my feminine energy. I was very emotional. I needed a lot of help every day to like just pull myself back up. And you were doing that. And so like you were taking on that masculine energy. And it was a really interesting conversation because, when he said that to me and told me, I'm like, yeah, no, that's what happened. Like, and then ultimately you just got to the place where you're like, I can't keep doing this. You were worn out because you needed to like also deal with what you had went through. But we were so focused on what I was going through and I didn't possess like that masculine energy where I couldn't protect anybody. I couldn't protect myself. So it's been really cool to like go through this journey. I've been diving really deep since the show, really, on self-improvement and just trying to understand and really believing at this point that everything that's happened to me has been as a result of what I allowed. I actually had another conversation with somebody a couple of weeks ago, and I said, yeah, the show, gave me a villain at it. And she goes, whoa. The show made you a villain or you made yourself a villain? And I said, well, I mean, they definitely could have portrayed me in a better light. She said, yeah, but how did you become the villain? So I told her like what happened on the show. And she said, so you took those actions, you took them, right? I said, yeah. She goes, then you became the villain, because what if you didn't take those actions? Would you have been the villain? Well, could they even have made you a villain if you didn't take those actions? I was like, no, they wouldn't have had anything.
Interesting.
So she's like, right. So ultimately, you were the one that made yourself the villain. And
I always say this because I know that you experienced the villainous, like you were the Bachelor villain. At least that's how you're portraying, or you're saying it right now. But like everyone's a villain. Like I've been saying that since we used to date. Everyone's a villain in someone's story. Like I've been a villain in someone's story in the real world. It just wasn't filmed.
yeah.
Everyone has been the villain. And if everyone had their dating life filmed and exposed, we've all done shitty things. Like, period. So like, yes, there's certainly actions you could have taken or not taken that would have helped you, but like you had a major pile on, and it's a thankless, like there's no way that you can win as the lead, in my opinion. Like there are obviously people that have been successful and you know they even have successful relationships out of it, but at the end of the day, like nobody wants to really see a guy date 30 women. Like it's a lose-lose for you. So I hear you, and I'm like, it's wonderful to hear you be like, oh, I took these actions, and you're taking responsibility for how you've hurt people, and like everyone wants to hear that, and that's amazing that you like feel that way. But also like I don't want you to like beat up on yourself too hard, because it's like everyone's done things that would look bad if it was filmed, edited, and put back out for the world to see.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. I mean, I there was a time where I thought, you know, well, let's throw a camera on any one of you that are pointing the finger right now. And I guarantee you, in 3 months of filming, you would look equally as bad, if not worse. But no, it's more, it's not even beating myself up at this point. I just really do believe that I'm in control of everything, control in a sense of my actions and reactions. So
That's great.
I just look at it like I can always be better. I could make the excuse and say, yeah, well, the show could have pulled some punches instead of hitting me with all these uppercuts. Like they certainly didn't hold back. And yeah, certainly they decide to give an angel edit to certain people. And you're like, that
like
person.
me?
I don't know what kind of edit you got. We kind of shared I don't know. I mean,
No, that's true. People did hate me for a minute too, but yeah.
You were the angel. Well, I mean, again, like it was. I just go back to we had the Camp Susie, Camp Clayton. So you were
sucks.
like the star. Everybody loved you up until the end, and then I would say people still. Nobody. I don't think people had the amount of hate that they had for me. But you also, I remember the DMs you got. I mean, you got some nasty DMs too.
Yeah.
And so maybe I got more at one time, but I felt like yours kept trickling in.
Yeah,
where everyone kind of just like punched me all at once, and then
Yeah.
they're like, all right, he's beat up, he's in the corner. Whereas like you were kind of just getting like comments for a longer duration.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it was tough though, right? And then like we, of course, I know personally that where I am now, I was nowhere near as emotionally mature as I am now. And I'm not saying that to, tout myself like, oh, I've done so much healing, but I have done a lot of healing.
That's great. I think that's important. That's like something coming off of reality TV and getting punched when you're down. You're either going to stay down or you're going to rise back up. And like you have not stopped working on yourself to become a better person, soul searching, being in men's group or book groups or whatever, like just being proactive about your mental health and figuring out what it is. Like everyone's journey is going to look different. Everyone's opinions and values are going to look different, but like there's no doubt that you have poured into yourself, and that is so applaudable. And I think that's like, it's the beauty of reality TV too, is like you really do put yourself out there and put yourself through emotional turmoil, allow the world to judge you, and you can either become a really horrible person because of the good and the bad that comes your way, or you can become a really wonderful person. And so, I mean, even hearing you say all this, I'm like, this is like, it's great that you've been so introspective and really like worked on yourself and taken accountability and just like, yeah, grown and see your own growth. Like you have so much to be proud of. So I love that.
Do you feel like your experience made you a better person? Like substantially, a little bit?
I think it's made me grow a lot. I think it's forced me into like corners of myself where I'm like, oh, I don't like it here. And I haven't had to faced this before. So I think that it's forced me to really grow in a lot of ways. And I think I've always been a really empathetic person. So I've always like really had compassion for people. So I don't know that I have gotten more, because like I say, my favorite thing to say is that everyone's a villain, where like I just think going on there, it's like you are exposed to so much more, and you see like reality, and then you see what reality, in quotations, like reality TV is. So you have more compassion for people even that you see, whether it's online or on TV, and it's like they're labeled a villain, or they're labeled, you know, whatever you want to call it, bad. And I don't know, I just like, I don't think I'm ever gonna like label somebody as like bad or a villain, because I just think that we're all humans, and like as long as somebody's willing to grow, which some people aren't, but as long as somebody's willing to grow, then I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna have like empathy and compassion for that person and hope that they're gonna grow, because obviously that's how we have a better society, is like people look at themselves, want to be better, and get better. And so maybe that's, you know, part of the beauty of reality TV too, is like when people kind of see their inner demons exposed, and it allows them to be like, oh, maybe I need to like look at this. So,
Absolutely. I think that's what happened with me.
With any relationship, there are bound to be trials and tribulations. However, navigating a relationship in the public eye is surely not for the faint of heart, especially when lies are being spread.
obviously we started the podcast talking about the little scandal that we found ourselves in. Right off the show, somebody claimed to have slept with you the night before, and I said, send me your location, send me screenshots, send me all of your proof, and then if none of this matches up, I'm calling the Bachelorette and I'm saying, is there room on the ship? I'm coming on the ship. Please tell me there's leftover boys. But you were a gentleman, and it was all fake. Thank God. And yeah,
I wasn't completely a gentleman. I mean, I just remember back to the night.
Yeah, you were fine. It was stressful.
Well,
you
it was
had
high
taken,
stress. Yeah.
Am I allowed to say what you took? Is that public knowledge?
No, I took an edible.
Took an edible, and then somebody comes out claiming that they slept with you. So
yeah, I was eating pizza, minding my business, laying on my brother's couch because I just moved, I was in Scottsdale at the time and waiting for the show to air, and and then all of a sudden I see this girl's like, I hooked up with this bachelor, and people are looking at her, and she's in New York. I'm like, Matt James is in New York. So I was like, no way, Matt. So I'm like crushing this pizza, like, well, this is my Friday night plan, is to just keep refreshing this and read all the comments. And then, when she tagged, like, spill the tea, sis, who is it? She tagged me. And I remember I was so high that I was wiping my eyes. I was like, I'm projecting this on the screen. This isn't actually happening. And then my phone started blowing up. And I was by myself at the time. So I text my brother. I was like, dude, I need you to come home. Because then I'm like, hey, I got to figure out how to, like, disprove this.
Yeah.
And then I knew you, obviously, I knew the second that I got the first notification that I was tagged, I knew that you gotten tagged right after. Mm-hmm. So, because that's just the way social media is. You don't even have any time to, like, the second something's out there, it's out there. It's just like, and nobody fact checks. And so I knew, I was like, you're at the wedding, you're getting notifications. And now I'm like, I know she's like trying to do her job. Oh, yeah, and she's getting this. She's getting these notifications being like, your boyfriend cheated. Yeah. And so I'm like, every minute, that's the stress of social media and the internet is like, if there was no social media or internet and this happened, well, first off, that girl wouldn't have been able to post on it and go so viral so quickly. Mm-hmm. But then also it would have given me some time to like not have to race out. I was like a race against, okay, I need to like quell her concern, but I also like have this whole online audience that's crucifying me. That
they've been crucifying you for months. Yeah.
So it was like, and I had a high mind that was moving at like a snail's pace. So but then it picked up very quickly. My brain went back to like normal capacity, and I was like, what do I do?
Talk about a buzzkill.
Yeah, well, I felt I got very sobered up, and then my brother comes in, and I'm like, oh my God, location services. I always like to just scroll. Yeah. Like I don't watch a lot of stuff. I just scroll on social media or just on the internet in my downtime. Mm-hmm. So I remember like a video from 3 years ago. So then I was like, I gotta find my location services. I go on my phone, boom, find it, and my brother comes back in that time while I'm searching. I was like, I need you to record a video. I was like, but I also need to make sure that I don't look high when I do it. So that was the big thing. So he looks at it, he's like, yeah, you look good. So I post it. Last night, April 8th, 7:07 to 8:12. Mountainside's literally only in Arizona. And Nate, am I not with you? Have I not been with you the last 2 days?
Yeah, you have been.
But she was adamant. So that we post that, I call you and I'm like, hey, here's my location services. Here's where my brother can vouch for me. I was here. I did not try. I did not.
And I was like, I don't trust the brother. I need more proof. No, I didn't say that, but
you took it. Yeah, you took it and were like, okay. But then what happened was it was like 3 hours later, I was laying in my bed and then you called back because she was adamant. She was in your DMs.
She was like, I swear on my life, on everything, that I'm certain without a doubt it was Clayton. I'm telling you it was Clayton. I'm like, how the hell did this man get a red-eye flight to New York City all under my nose? Like, I'm like, how did he fly out and come back to his, like, I was so confused, but she was so adamant that I was like, she's really pushing.
Yeah, she did. And so then I got the call and I like woke up, from my little just sleeping, and I'm like, what's going on? You're like, are you sure? Like you did? And I remember just being like, I was waking up out of it and I'm like, wait, what just happened? I went to sleep and we were on good terms. Now, like I'm back in the fire again, but I didn't know like she was. But then you said she was DMing you, and I. Yeah.
You were mad that I was still DMing?
Which
is fair.
Yeah, I was upset because I was upset because I was on edge because I think that was right before the finale. Or maybe that was halfway through the season.
Oh no, it was after. Because remember, I was
coming.
We were literally about to move you to Virginia.
Yeah, so at that point, we didn't have to hide anymore. So like but I was still not through like healing myself.
Yeah.
So I was on edge already, and then you called back. I called back, and I just remember being like, oh my gosh, like. What more can I do? So then when we went through the timeline, then it didn't make sense. Yeah. So then that's when we posted the video because it was like, here's the timeline. She's like, well, I met him at 1:30 a.m. and his phone said he was at the gym at 8 o'clock. And so then we did that whole like, let's do the math here.
So the time difference, yeah.
I think that's what ultimately got me. And again, like you didn't know me that well at that point. Mm-hmm. So it's like, you also are like, why would somebody make this up?
Also, like, I've had men literally say to my face, I swear on everything. Nothing happened, or whatever their lie is. And they literally have been lying to my face, like, the same way that this girl was talking to me, saying, like, I promise you, like, I swear on everything, like, so adamant. Like, I've never begged someone to believe me so hard, like these people that have lied to me, like that girl and some exes have, where it's like, it's so convincing. So it's like, how can somebody be so adamant about this that they're like pleading and begging with you? And so when I contacted you again, I remember being like, same thing with past people, where it's like, if they had cheated, it was like, sometimes if you just ask again, they'll give you like a little bit more information. Because I was like, okay, well, maybe if I ask again, he'll be like, well, I did go to New York, but nothing happened. And then I was gonna be like, gotcha, bitch. Like, I know it. I knew it. You did it.
Oh, so you're trying to catch me off guard.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Now it's all coming out that was a tactic. And ladies, take note. It works. If you just ask again nicely.
Call him when he's sleeping. He wakes up in the first 30 seconds when his brain's not fully functioning.
Yes.
And you're like, I'll catch you now.
I'll catch you now, bitch. But I didn't. So it was all fake.
Well, I also
This isn't really exposing me, my toxic side, but that's okay because we're all healing. We're all getting better.
Well, I think too, though, if, again, the emotional or lack of maturity at that point, when you called back, now I think, or maybe it's just because I'm sitting here in the spot right now, it's like, okay, she's calling back, hey, I told you that I didn't, so why is it that you're still questioning? And if I think that's where communication's key. If you said, well, hey, like I've had men in the past that have sworn up and down that they weren't lying, and then they were. And so for me, like, it's hard to just believe off that first instance.
Right.
And then I can say, okay, it's her past that's causing her to like question me. So this isn't an attack on me and like I don't believe you. It's like, hey, I've been hurt and wounded in the past, so I have this wound that's now been reopened, and it's just it's reminding me. And I don't want to categorize you as that, but like people carry their trauma and their baggage into relationships, and I think that conversation I could have also went the route of, okay, so this has happened to you before, where somebody's been adamant and then they were lying to my face, so that's causing me to be, question. I don't want to, but I am pulling my past relationship into this.
It's so true.
And it could have been, but again, I think like I lacked the emotional intelligence. And I also just was already high stress, like way over my stress limit. And so everything to me was an attack where I'm like, hey, and for me, I'm like, hey, you're the one that's gotten me through all these tough times. Like now you're like the person that has been protecting me is questioning me. Like now I don't even have the support from the person that's been like carrying me. So I think not that that's an excuse, but like it's just as in like it was like, hey, of all people, like I can't have you be the one turning on me now. So it was a hard time, you know. I mean, it was a really bad, and we just kind of like, our relationship was just a rocky road from like the day one post show.
Day negative
or negative,
6.
yeah. I mean, it was
before the show ended.
Yeah, it was just, but so be it. I mean, I think I learned a lot through the experience. And I know like you learned through the experience, and I think the biggest thing is that's nice is I'm just grateful that we can sit here and like you didn't, hesitate to ask me to come on the podcast.
Of course not. You have the juiciest story.
Yeah,
we
like,
gotta get in. I'm like, we gotta talk about
yeah,
this.
Okay, sorry. We're
no,
going off.
it's fine. It's actually so good. It's like therapeutic that we're like, going through our past, and it gives people context. But like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh is right. After Susie and Clayton's breakup and the fake cheating scandal, they thought the lies were over. However, Clayton would soon encounter yet another lie, but far more severe and outrageous than he could have ever imagined.
When did we talk on the phone? When you first told me when did this all kind of transpire? What was it, like summer of 2020?
It was last year, May.
May. Okay, so I must have talked to you like over the summer.
You talked to me like probably, I think we talked in June.
And so I remember being on the phone with you. I think we were both going to the same event, a fundraiser or something. And we were like, oh, we're going to see each other. Like, just wanted to check in. And then you're like, yeah, I've got some stuff going on. And I was like, what do you mean? And it sounded heavy. And you're like, oh, I don't want to like burden you with it. And I was like, well, I'm driving to the airport, so go ahead. And I remember you telling me it. And I was like so angry for you. And I think you knew it was about to break. Like, you were like, she's kind of threatening like with news outlets at this point. And I guess for anyone listening that doesn't know this story, basically you were a part of a paternity scandal with somebody that we will call Jane Doe. And you explained all this to me on the phone, and I'm like, how can she claim that she's pregnant with your child, but you have never had sex with her? You've never been in a relationship with her. You had one like fling with her where there was not sex. There was other things happening, but not sex.
Yeah. Is this a PG show?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, she performed oral on me twice.
Twice?
Yeah.
Wow. This feels like our fantasy suite date when I was learning a lot about...
Well,
I have slept with someone else here.
it's just out there at this point, I think.
It's just out there.
I think that honestly is what made this so much easier for me to share my truth, is because I'm like, hey, my sex life was out there from the TV show.
Yeah.
So I don't really have to hold back.
Thank God, right? Like you felt comfortable being like, we didn't have sex. We did this, but we didn't have sex.
Shifting my wardrobe from summer to fall is always a challenge, but luckily Quint offers timeless and high quality items that I adore. Ensuring my wardrobe always stays fresh, but I don't blow the budget. Like cashmere sweaters for $50, pants for every occasion, washable silk tops, and so much more. The best part is that all items are priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands, and by partnering directly with the facilities, it cuts out the cost of a middleman and passes that savings on to us. Quint only works with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices in premium fabrics and finishes. I personally just love that. I just received 2 100% cotton tops from them. One is a basic white tee that is just perfect for dressing up, dressing down. It's timeless and classic, and then I also got a cardigan that fits perfectly, and I feel like these are going to be staple items that will live on in my wardrobe for years to come and always stay in fashion, and it makes switching seasons a breeze with Quint's high-quality closet essentials. So go to quince.com/live-laugh-lies for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's quince.com/live-laugh-lies to get free shipping and 365-day returns. quince.com/live-laugh-lies.
So she threatened that she was going to go out public for months. And then what ultimately was the catalyst for it was she knew that I was hosting this local reality pickleball TV show. Mm-hmm. And so she launched it the first day that I was hosting, because she wanted to basically essentially wreck me and get like them to either fire me on the spot or not just be able to not be in my head where I couldn't do my job. It was diabolical. It was trying to just absolutely just destroy everything in my life. And yeah, she performed oral twice. So people say, well, then how could you even think, like, why would you even entertain this?
Yeah.
It's because the second time after I finished in her mouth, she ran to, I don't care. It's all out there. Mom, my grandma, they've all seen seen and heard way more than what they want. If they saw the deposition, it's even worse. I walked through step by step of how it all went down. And she even showed up to my deposition. So I was like, I'm going to put this on record for exactly what happened, because they were trying to make it seem like I was too high that night to recount what happened, because they were going to
not the edibles again.
Yeah. Well, there's actually you're not tied into it, but like there's probably a part of it that you never heard that what happened. So I guess I can go back.
Give us the tea. Okay, yeah, take us back. Give us the scoop. What do you need? People what they need to hear.
We went to that event, and that was at this like house that they threw and we were at the event, and then I can't remember what was it. I don't remember what the event was, but that was the first time that we'd seen each other in probably half a year or something.
Yeah.
And because I remember like that was the first time that we hung out, and it was great. Like it was just like refreshing. It always is. Like I had my business partner today ask me like, how you feeling? Like, with seeing her. I said, I'm always happy to see her, like, because we went through such a unique experience that she's always going to be a friend to me. Like, she's always going to understand what most people didn't. And we ended on good terms. Like, she took a couple shots at me. Your little Chipotle bullshit story.
I didn't say it. I didn't say that. I'm so sorry that haunts you. So sorry. I actually regret that so much, because I feel like I'm so sorry.
No,
I do regret ever saying anything publicly, though, which is why
I'm
being not public now about things, because I think it can be really harmful and hurtful the way people can take things and run with it.
Yeah, and they did, and I'm just messing with you. I mean, did it bother me a little bit? I was like, come on, Suze. Like, again, just another reason for people to. But what? Like, but that's the thing is like a little harmless Chipotle story can carry weight all of a sudden, right?
Yeah.
So it's just like that's what you realize is like every little thing gets magnified, and I think that's something that a lot of like people that aren't on TV don't realize is the smallest things get magnified times a million. I mean, guys, people are getting canceled for stuff they said in 7th grade. I'm sorry, but I was really immature in 7th grade, and so you're gonna cancel me for using the word gay? I mean, and I've seen people get canceled for that, and it's like that's ridiculous. This he's an immature 7th grader. You can't say that he's still the same person, homophobic, because he was. Like that, a lot of people were saying, calling their friends gay at that age. Like, but that's the thing is people get canceled. And I remember just even like sharing a story like that. I'm like, I can't share a story today like that because people will come after me. And it's like, I am not homophobic, and I was a stupid 7th grader. That was our friends would make these comments. That was the common thing. But now it's like anything can come back and bite you, and the little story can become a mountain. It's like a mountain out of a molehill. And so it can be very stressful when you're like always walking on eggshells. And when I was given podcasts early on, I was withholding so many things that I wanted to say because I was like, well, I don't want to like subject myself to criticism. But then I couldn't say what I wanted to say. So I was like suppressing my authenticity and like who I really am. And I'm not doing that anymore. Now I'm like, this is it. Like, I think I am what I am. And if you don't like what I say, then fine. It's okay.
Yeah.
But I'm going to make sure I get out my true authentic self. And so anyways, off topic, but going back to like, we like, hung out, and I left. And when I was driving back to, I was going to this casino resort thing. I think I was like going to do a brand deal. But when I was driving back, I broke down in tears because I was just like, I'm just so grateful that I still have such a like good friendship with her after everything we went through. Like it still means so much to me. And I was crying. I was like, man, it just sucks. Like it would have, like, what if we didn't go through all this? Like, and we didn't have to feel all this pain. Like I didn't have to subject her to this pain. Like she's such a good person, and I just feel terrible. And so, that interaction that we had, like, kind of messed with me. Not your fault. It's just like, I just felt a rush of emotions come back where I'm like, man, I really just wish I wouldn't have hurt her that way. And like, I wish that things could have, ended differently. So I started coping with weed. Like I started using weed to cope with my, pain. and ultimately, like, that's where I just found myself, you know, I think weeks or months later in that position where I was coping with weed that night.
Wow.
And took a dosage, and then she was always flirty with me over text from the time that we started, you know, from she reached out on LinkedIn, and then we started talking about showing houses, and she kept flirting, and I was keeping it really professional. But that night I was under the influence, and she sent me a provocative photo, and I told her to come over. It was a mistake. I was, you know, and I subjected myself to it because I took the edible, and I knew that, you know, for me, I should probably turn off my phone whenever I'm on an edible because I'm not making smart decisions. I'm letting the testosterone or hormones kick in, and like my brain starts to dull. And so I invited her over, and that's what happened, you know. And then I crossed, you know, professional boundaries and engaged in a hookup with a potential work client, which was a mistake. But then I was afraid that she ran to the bathroom afterwards and spit it out and pushed it up her.
That was what I thought. When all of this when you told me this, and I knew it was going to go public, and I don't remember like where I said it or who I said it to, but it like somebody picked it up where it was like, I know Clayton. He's not a liar. Like, I believe the story. But what I was afraid of is that she went and turkey basted herself in the bathroom, and like
which is ridiculous, but like people do it.
No, it's crazy.
I was an athlete before I went on the show.
Yeah.
I had teammates that got trapped that way. It's called trapping.
Crazy.
And women like would trap these men where they would tell them, hey, I'm on birth control, and they weren't, or they missed their pill.
Yeah.
Like, so people have to understand, like, they're like, why would you believe that? What are the chances? I was around a lot of that stuff happening. It happens more than people realize.
See, I was like slim to, I was like, there are such slim chances, but everything you told me, I was like, this is so bizarre that maybe she did. And I was like, what are the odds that it can live long enough to like impregnate her?
Like 0.01, but that was the problem.
But it's like, there's a chance. Yeah, exactly. And I was like thinking about it. I was like, dang, like not that it matters really what people think, but I'm like, I really took your word and believed it. And I was like, every time it was like, there was this push for like the verdict to come out of like, is she actually pregnant? And there was always like a pushback or whatever. And I would be like, it's so obvious that she's not. But even me, who's like so uninvolved in the story, I was so nervous for you, where I was like, what if she is though? What if she is? Did that like haunt you? Like, did you have massive anxiety throughout that entire period of like, I know you deep down believe that she wasn't probably, but did you have this like pending anxiety of like, what if the 1,000,000 chance that she's pregnant? Like, what if it's true?
That's exactly what I thought. Because I was faced with two scenarios. Either I was dealing with the craziest woman that I've ever came across in my entire life, or I was dealing with someone that was telling the truth.
Yeah.
And both of them seemed ridiculous. I was like, there's no way that you're pregnant. But also, like, am I really dealing with the most diabolical, insane human of my life?
Both seem crazy.
I couldn't believe it. Like, at first, early on, I'm like, there's no way I'm actually dealing with a person that is this terrible of a human being.
Wow.
I just can't believe that I've come across this. This is the stuff that, like, you see in documentaries. This is on the news. Like, so I had this, like, I grappled because I believe in like the goodness of people for the most part, but certainly not that level of evil. And I'm like, so I started to think, well, maybe she's telling the truth. Like, maybe she really is pregnant. Now I know I didn't get, like, if she's pregnant, then it's because she trapped me. So it's not like, you know, because she claimed that we were grinding on each other and my fluid like came out, and I was like, no, I that did not happen. But I was like, maybe she did trap me and actually get pregnant. And now if that's the case, well, I'm going to have to come to terms with this reality.
Right.
And so I didn't know. And because I told her, she's like, well, I need you to support me. I said, listen, I want you to get an ultrasound because I don't believe you. So she goes, okay, but that's going to take 9 weeks minimum. I said, okay, then cut off communication. I don't want to talk to you for 9 weeks until you have this ultrasound. You have this ultrasound done and there's a baby inside you, then I will re-engage conversation. But as of right now, we have no reason to talk to one another. She then said, well, I need someone to support me. And I said, then go to your family and get support because, like, I don't believe you.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I had debilitating anxiety. I laid in bed for days where I just stared at the ceiling. I did the bare minimum, like 2 hours of work that I had to get done a day, and then I just laid and stared at the ceiling. And, thankfully I had a really good conversation with my dad one day. He was like, Clayton, you can continue to lay in bed for the next 9 months. And there's two things that are going to happen. She's either going to actually have a child in 9 months, or she's not pregnant and she's not going to have a child. But either way, until you get some concrete facts, you need to live in this present moment and just go about your life, because you don't know. She could have a miscarriage. There's a lot of things that could happen with a pregnancy that could not potentially come to term. But either way, you can't do anything for 9 months.
Right.
So just live your life now to the fullest, and then deal with it in 9 months if you need to deal with it. And my dad was really speaking to the power of presence. He was like, just like, you laying here in bed is not going to do anything. And you can't control this. Like, she's telling you she's going to keep this child. So you can't do anything about it. It's her choice. So choose to react how you can, which is just go on with your life. And so I started to do that. I started to just like I got up out of bed. I started going back to my job, and I'm like, I'll just deal with it. But then she was stalking my every move, and then saw that I was back in the office and back, posted on social media. And so she had to up her game. So it was like, how can I debilitate him even more?
Wow.
So then she started sending letters to my work. So she sent a process server to serve me papers and at my work, just so they'd show up. And it's a person with a badge. I'm here to serve papers from the court. And she would do that just to humiliate me. And then I went to Miami to see my cousin, and I go down to Miami, and she finds out I'm in Miami. So what does she try to do? Serve me the parenting plan at 2 women's addresses that one of the girls I had talked to briefly finds her address, and then gets the process server to show up to her house to try to serve the papers.
Oh my God.
And then the other one was this Jessica girl from a season after me. I think it was Zach's season.
I love Jess.
Okay, so I've never met her.
Me either in person. Just like follow her. I'm just like a fan.
Yeah. So somebody asked me on a podcast, like, if there was a girl that you'd be interested in Zach's season, who would it be? And I said her. I was like, I think Jess, like, she seems sweet. And so that's all I said. And lo and behold, finds her address, because she apparently lives in Miami, and tries to serve her papers to her too. Now, neither of them were successfully served, so I don't know if they just didn't answer the door, or they rejected the papers. But she just kept trying to serve me papers and humiliate me. She didn't want me. Oh, Clayton's in Miami. He's there to see some girls. No, I was there to see my cousin. But she just like tried to basically always, and I blocked her emails, but then she kept sending them through, and then she'd send 13 different phone numbers she used to get. Once I blocked her first one, she would just create a new number, Google Voice number, and then text me from there. And so she just would try to continually just always be top of mind by just, and she has no job. Like, she doesn't work. She sits in her parents' casita, who funds her antics fully. So she sits there all day and just doesn't do anything she doesn't do anything productive for society other than just waste people's time. And so she was a full-time job of scamming. She's a full-time scam artist.
That's actually wild that she's a full-time scam artist.
Yeah.
You're the third person?
I'm the fourth.
Fourth person she's scammed like this.
Yeah, she's a full-time scam artist. Her and her mother is a scam artist as well, and because they both are in on it. I spoke to her mom on the phone early on, and I thought I could talk some sense into her mom and be like, hey, your daughter's telling me that if you date me for a week and it doesn't work out between us, then I'll have an abortion. But if you don't date me, I'm having the child. I said that's ridiculous. Then I tried to play her game a little bit. I said, okay, I'll date you for a week, but no sexual intercourse. She said, why? No, that's ridiculous. Like, I'm the safest person that you could have sex with of anybody. And so she wasn't.
Do you think she would have tried to get
at
pregnant?
that point? Yes, I know for a fact she would have actually tried to get pregnant at that point. So I knew what her game was. So I was like, no, I'll date you for a week, and then if it doesn't work out in a week, then we'll cut things off, but no intimacy. I was gonna play her game.
Yeah.
And then just basically be like, oh, sorry, like I gave it a week, and I'm not interested in you. But she was like, no, we have to be intimate. I'm like, no. Then so I cut that off. Then I'm like, let me talk to your mom. Get on the phone with her mom, and her mom's like, you got my daughter pregnant, so you should step up as a man. Like, it's pretty disappointing that you won't. I said, listen, I understand, but here's the thing. I don't believe that your daughter's pregnant, but let's just say she is. Like, I don't want to be with your daughter. Yeah. So she's telling me that she's going to have the child if I don't date her, but she won't have the child if I date her. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
So
So that's like it's classic manipulation.
Yeah,
Like,
and I told her, I said, I go, your
so
daughter should not
backwards.
base whether or not she has a child on the fact of whether or not I should date her. She should either want to have a child or not want a child.
Yeah.
But don't base it on the guy either dating them or not dating them. And I'm like, that's dumb. So just like if she wants to have the child, okay. I'm not telling her to have an abortion. So, but I'm just saying, like, she should not be basing her decision on that, because I'm telling you right now, like, I'm not dating her. And she was like, well, I just think it's really, like, honestly disappointing. Like, you should, like, you're not stepping up to the plate as a man, and I think that says a lot about your character. And I said, okay, I see where this is going. Have a good one. Hung up. I literally watched a video today that was sent to me. Her mom, someone sent police to her house for a wellness check, and her mom answered the door. 18-minute conversation. Her mom regurgitated all the same bullshit, all the like, well, this is like what happened, and this guy, you know, my daughter was impregnated by the Bachelor, and he, you know, he's made up this story, and she was pregnant, and then but the previous guy, you know, she got pregnant by him, but like he's hacked her email and stuff, and blah blah blah. Her mom is like is probably the mastermind.
I was gonna say, do you think the mom believed her at all, or do you think the mom is just fully in on?
No, her mom's fully in on it.
On the
I'm
scam?
fully convinced, 100%.
Okay. I'm really curious about these other guys, like the other dudes that have also been scammed by her. How did you get in contact with them? How did they find you, or how did you find them?
Yeah, so when she decided to go public, she opened up the floodgates, and so everyone, you know, started tearing into me, but then it got put out there. And so I then, as I'm like getting all these messages incoming, I am, you know, clicking into my DMs, and I see a DM, and it's like, hey, you need to look in this court case. You're not the only one. And so I see this, and my heart just stops. I'm like, what?
Okay, guys, I want to take a minute to give a quick shout out to Fungies. I've been taking their gummy supplements for a couple months now. They literally are the most delicious vitamin gummies I've ever had. Unlike other supplements, there is no unpleasant aftertaste. That is one thing, like some gummies taste funky afterwards. I have never had that experience with Fungies gummies. They're literally so tasty. It's a funny thing whenever people come over, I'm like, you have to try these gummies. They just taste like little tasty treats. They also contain lion's mane, which lion's mane mushrooms have long been recognized for their potential cognitive benefits, including to help improve memory, boost focus, and even promote mental clarity. And that's why they are Fungi's most popular products. I also personally like their hydration drink. It's so good. If you're ready to give your brain a boost, you can find these gummies in the vitamin section at your local Walmart for less than $10, or you can conveniently shop on their website, eatfungies.com. Free shipping and 20% off with code LIVELAUGHLIES. That's EATFUNGIES.com.
It's an open court case.
Yeah.
It was still ongoing. And so I pulled the court docs, and it's like verbatim almost. The text messages she was sending, I was like, oh, wait, are these the text messages she sent me? They were the same verbiage. It was the same situation, basically, claiming twins. The situation was a little different in that this previous guy told her to take the pills. She was able to warp the story to make it seem like he forced her to take the pills. So she was suing him for abortion coercion, which she tried to get me to do. She kept telling me, like, she's like, hey, I got these pills.
Supposedly she went to California to get pills,
these abortion
because you
pills.
can't get them in Arizona without an actual
ultrasound. Yes. And so she's like, I got these pills. I'll take them. Do you want me to take them? I kept responding. I said, I've told you what I want you to do, but ultimately it's your body, your choice. Yeah. So I was not coercing her. She was trying to get me to like take the pills. Like the other guy was adamant, like take the damn pills.
Yeah, she really pushed him to the edge.
And so he got, you know, flustered. And so then, that was threatening in her eyes enough to be able to bring abortion coercion as a lawsuit against him. She tried to do that to me, but I was like, it's your body. I'm not telling you what to do. You know what I want you to do. I don't want to raise a child with you. So but like you get to, I'm not telling you to take pills or not to take pills. So she's like, okay, if you don't get to give me an answer, I'm going to throw away the pills. So I didn't respond. So what she do? She's like, I threw away the pills. And then what happens? A week later, she comes back. Okay, I got the pills again. Like, do you want me to take them? And so she tried to set me up for abortion coercion. She runs a cycle from one guy to the next where whatever works, she does it again, and whatever doesn't work. That was the thing. She got caught on faking an ultrasound in the previous case.
Okay.
And they basically reverse Google image searched it and found that photo from a mommy blog post from like years prior.
And what about the ultrasound that she provided to you?
Yeah. So what happened was they brought it to court and were like, hey, here's a side-by-side image. She doctored this. She then claimed that like the previous guy hacked her email, and then when he hacked her email, he sent that image to himself to make it appear like she sent it.
It's just so
and he's like, why would I don't believe you're pregnant. Why would I send you an ultrasound?
I just like don't understand how she's gotten away with it for so long. And
what I have found is if you are adamant enough and you stick to your truth, most people, what I found, even the court system, they give people the benefit of the doubt, and they also don't believe like the chances of dealing with somebody like her. There are very few people out in the world that are like her. Well, maybe there's more than we realize, but like most people aren't to her level of insanity.
Yeah.
So I think even the courts, well, I can give you an example. I went, she filed a parenting plan. She finally got it served to me by two police officers. I come up my elevator, I open the elevator, boom, 2 police officers. And I'm like, my neighbor's standing next to me in the elevator, and I didn't know him well enough. He comes out and he's looking at me like, you're Clayton, right? And I said, yeah. And he sits there with his bike and he's just watching, like smiling. They're like, you can keep going, sir. And I'm like, yeah, I'm looking like a criminal right now. Cause like what, and they're like, here, we have to serve you these papers. Now you need to respond to in the court. So you have like a certain amount of days to respond. I think it's like 2 weeks to respond or 30 days maybe. And if you don't respond, they'll enter a default judgment. So it's basically like, hey, if you don't respond, we're going to go ahead and assume that this is true. So I get this parenting plan. I'm like, it's not true. So I'm like, I have to go, into court. Well,
Did you have lawyers?
I didn't have lawyers at the time, and I just bought a house and I sunk all my money into it. So I'm like, I knew how expensive lawyers were. So I call up this family law firm, and I'm like, hey, I need you to do a one-off thing for me. I need you to just like help me file these papers. That's it. I don't want to bring you on to fight this. I just need to file a response. So they're like, yeah, we can do that. So I pay like $500 for an hour or something. They help me file it, and I go in, I stand in front of the judge, and the judge is like, so why are you here today? I said, I'm disputing this. He said, on what? He said, okay. He's like, what are you disputing? I said, well, there's no children. So I said, this is all made up. He said, excuse me? I said, there's no children. He said, you're here for a parenting plan. So what do you mean there's no children? I said, there are no existing children. He goes, you mean they haven't been born yet? I go, no, there are no children, period. This is a complete made up scenario that I'm dealing with. And the judge looked at me. He's like, are you messing with me? I said, no, I swear to you. I know it sounds ridiculous, but no. So that's why she's been able to get so far along with this, is because like most people don't actually think that someone like her exists and will go to this extent.
And was she not going through the same court? Like, did she never run into the same judge? Like, how, like...
Different judges, yeah.
Different judges? And do you think she was like manipulative or masterminding enough to like know how to not get the same judge, or is it just that there's so many judges that it would be so slim that you guys would end up at the same place?
The previous guy was in Phoenix, so I was the second victim in this area.
Okay.
The guy before him was in San Francisco.
Oh.
And then the previous guy before that was also in San Francisco. So we don't know if she moved out here to get away from that, to like continue her plots and on new men. And it was like, hey, I don't know if this is what she thought, but probably it was like, hey, now she's been known to do this in San Fran, so she comes out to Phoenix and has and gets a new clean slate. But of course, like again, here you go, like now this is blown up. She can't do this hopefully ever again, because now it's been blown up to the masses.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I mean, it's like now people know her face, they know her name, and
right. She really like blew her own cover, to be honest.
Yeah, and she tried to get me and say that I exposed her. I'm like, yeah. I didn't expose you at all. I didn't say her name up until like 3 weeks ago, and then I finally said her name. But she came out, and then I said, yeah, the court case is public, and then people went and found it.
Yeah.
So I was like,
that's on her.
And she panicked whenever because what happened is that she released it through a tabloid, and then I started getting reached out. The Sun released it or whatever, and then I started getting reached out by these tabloids, and they said, hey, we found the court number. And so we're going to like dig into the court number and release these documents. And I said, okay, fine. Well, then they told her that. She panicked because her name was in the court docs. So she's messaging me, emailing me, texting me from like new numbers being like, we need to seal this case right now.
No, thank you.
And I literally was like, at that point, I was like, oh, how the tables have turned.
Yeah, that would be me. I'm like a sucker for a little vengeance.
Yeah, I mean, I was like that was still hot. Like I was still getting hit hard by like, but at that point, I'm like, oh, you need me to close this case now.
Right.
guess what? I'm not. It's too late. Cat's out the bag.
Right.
So I was just like, so she's like blowing up my email, blowing up different text numbers, all caps, respond to my email. We got to close this. And I'm just like sitting there. I'm like, I'm not smiling because I was still, struggling with this stuff. But I was like, oh, well, looks like you have no power. And no, I'm not. You know what? I made a decision that at that moment I said, you know what? You took this out to the public. Great.
You're going to have to deal with that.
Great. Guess what? I'm going to use my public platform now
Right.
to get this out there to make sure that you are known to the masses, because I don't want you to ever do this again to somebody else.
Right.
So I made that decision. I was like, all right, let's go. Let's play.
Wow. And so I know that like Dave Neal, Reality Steve, they've like really, Dave Neal especially, has really gotten involved.
Yeah.
Love Dave.
Dave's great.
Love
Yeah.
Steve. They're like
Yeah, Dave's
amazing
great.
people.
Steve's awesome too. Yeah, they're both great.
They have taken like a very vested interest in this.
Yeah, I wouldn't have quite the amount of coverage if it wasn't for both of them.
Yeah. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think she's like tried to take legal action on both of them as well.
Yeah.
And threaten them to like stop them from using their voices and their platforms to advocate for you. Have you talked with Dave or Steve offline? I mean, I'm sure you have, but have you talked with them about like, were they scared? Did they shut it down, or have they just proceeded to continue forward?
She's all bark, no bite, and that's what. But at first, everyone assumes like, oh my gosh, she's actually going to do it.
Yeah.
And so they're getting these like long drawn out messages, like basically like you cease and desist, take this down, or otherwise I'm suing you. And so everyone's like, I don't want to deal with that. I mean, I won't name one of the podcasts I went on, but they almost didn't release the episode because they were like getting threatened and like, well, I don't have to post this. And I'm like, I drove all the way out here to do this episode. Like, are you serious? But they were afraid. They're like, I don't need to post this. Like, I'm already successful. And I was like, I get that. But like, she was, and once she found out whoever was going to like bring me on, she was just sending threatening messages.
Wow.
But then after a while, people kept getting these messages and realized that she's not doing a damn thing.
Mm-hmm.
She's got no power. She's pathetic. Her and her mom, they're both pathetic. That's why I'm like so open now about talking about it. I'm like, please try me. Try me. I have way more power than both of you, and I will go head to head at this point. Like,
And
I
think,
don't want, and I'm getting
no,
it's
it's okay.
Like,
I was gonna say your power though comes from being honest. Like that.
And my power's from my audience. Like I'm like I have a little group of people that are supporting me, and I'm like, you want to fight me now? Like let's go for it, because they need someone to fight back. Because like a lot of these previous men, I mean, she has money.
That's true. Yeah.
So she was burning them out with money.
Right.
I mean, I got over 6 figures in legal fees. And so she thought she was going to burn me out, but I'm like, I'm going head to head with you right now. Then. Like, because I'm like, I don't like bullies. And this goes back all the way back to me getting bullied as a child. And I hate bullies. I hate them more than anything. Like, and I'm a big guy now, but like, that's why I'm like, I understand that, like, like you can be physically imposing, but I hate it when people feel powerless.
Yeah.
And so she knew she had power with money. She'd burn guys out with their finances where they couldn't stay in court.
Fight back.
She'd just burn them out. And so I was like, okay, like, I can fight back. I have the power, and I don't like bullies, and you're a big ass bully, and so is your mom. And so I'm gonna fight both of you guys head to head, because guess what? I'm the one that's innocent, and I'm the one that's telling the truth. So you want to try to fight me head to head? The more that you fight me, the more your lies get exposed. The worse off this is gonna get for you. She is destroying herself. I'm like, I'm not destroying you. You're destroying yourself, and now you're just bringing your mom in, because now that video got released today of her mom answering the door to the cops and lying through her teeth. I'm like, okay, so guess what, Mom? Do you want to get destroyed as well? Because you're destroying. I'm not. You two are destroying your lives.
Like themselves.
You're burning all your money.
Yeah.
You're 6 figures in. You're gonna pay my legal fees now because I won my court case.
Pop off.
So now you're paying my legal fees.
Oh wait, can you update us on that? Like, I feel like since a lot of the publicity, what is the legal update on, like, you've won?
Yeah, I mean, so we win the case, and then now they're trying to appeal it on the fact that they're saying that the judge was biased. So we're waiting
Was
for
she a Bachelor fan?
They're trying to claim that, like, she went online and was doing all this research on the back end, and that made her biased, and so now we need to, like, bring a new judge in that's not biased, as if that's going to, like, change the outcome.
Like, I'm sorry, but like multiple faked, like, pregnancy tests, ultrasounds, like all of this evidence stacked against her. I'm like, I'm sorry, but a new judge, it's not going to change the fact that she's lied and manipulated the story and tortured you and 3 other men along the way.
Yeah. And I mean, at the end of the day, I don't want to go back into court again, but if I have to, I'll do it. Like, we'll run that back. The good thing is that she's getting investigated by the county attorney.
Yeah, I saw that.
They just tweeted. Yeah. And I knew they were, but I wasn't saying anything. I was like, I'm not going to make it public, but they made it public because thankfully, I have a nice supportive group of people online that
Yeah.
have been blowing up the county attorney's office apparently since forever. And so that's why they made that statement. They're like, hey guys, we are investigating it. So please give us like some time and back off. Like, we're investigating, we're aware.
Yeah.
Because they were getting an influx of all these messages.
Do you feel like, this just popped in my head, I feel like when we came off the show, there was like, I think a part of both of us that was like, oh gosh, did we just like get ourselves into deep shit? And as far as like having all these people, all these eyes looking at us. And I know that you've kind of had this like arc of like, okay, actually this is maybe not great for me, or maybe this isn't a good thing to have all these people looking at me. And then it was like, wait, actually I can benefit from this and this can make my life better. But then you have people like this seek you out, or the girl that did the cheating scandal with us, and it's like you get bombarded with like so much hate and negativity virtually based on false pretense. But now you're kind of seeing that arc again where it's like, okay, people are coming to your defense. Do you feel like ultimately going on the show, having this audience, I mean, I know this wouldn't have happened if you probably hadn't gone on the show, but do you feel like it's ultimately been positive for your life? Like, do you feel like overall you're happy with your audience and with where you're at?
Yeah, I'm happy. I would do it all over again. I mean, I finally get to be the real version of me, which I never have ever been my entire life. You know, I get to dance, I got earrings, I got, hairstyle. I just do what I want.
Yeah.
And, I wrote in my journal 6 months ago that the old me died. But it was like it was a good thing. I wrote it like, hey, this people pleaser version of me, that never felt good enough is gone. I'll never, ever, ever again let somebody ever justify or tell me what my worth is. I know what my worth is. And so this confidence that I've had, it's been incredible. I mean, it's changed my outlook on life, and my life is so much better because I'm living in this like powerful place of self-love and self-confidence where, I still don't have it figured out, but I have like something I've never had that always evaded me. I kept chasing external validation my entire life, and realized that external validation will never stay permanently. It'll always go away. And so I'm like, I had to find the internal validation, and I finally have filled that void. And that's, isn't that like one of the best things that somebody can find?
Absolutely.
I needed to go down into the darkest valleys in order to climb to the highest peaks, but also all of the valuable life lessons and the most growth occur in places of adversity, in the valleys. So I know that this peak that I'm in right now, I feel like I'm climbing the mountain right now.
Okay.
But
You're not quite there.
I'm not quite there. I
yeah.
do think I have some things coming that are going to put me up at the very pinnacle. But then once that happens, I know I'm going to find myself back in the valley again. It's not because I'm going to make a poor decision, or maybe I will. I don't know. I mean, but I just know that you can't stay up in the valley or up at the peak your entire life. And if you could, then like you wouldn't even have a peak.
And you wouldn't enjoy it.
Yeah, because you have to go to the valleys to really appreciate the peaks.
Yeah.
So if you always were up at the peak state at all times, and that would become your baseline, and then you just would be like, well, this isn't actually really, you take it for granted.
That's so true.
So you have to go into these dark places, at least in order to, appreciate the peaks. So I'm, kind of climbing up. I feel like I'm 85% up the way of going to this next peak. And I have some really exciting things coming where I'm like, some big stuff that may or may not happen. But I mean, if they do happen, I'm like, this will be the peak, but then I'm going to go right back down at some point for who knows what. I'm
That's just life.
Yeah. Like I'm working through, these other insecurities now in my life. Like I've always had an aversion to money because I grew up in a small town and we had enough, but we didn't have an abundance, I would say. And I was always told that like people with money were superficial and they didn't care about others. And it was like, they're Hollywood and they're bougie and they're evil and they do all this weird Hollywood stuff. And so I, was hardwired to believe that money equaled evil. And so I'm working through that right now because the reason why I haven't been able to acquire the amount of money that I wanted to acquire is because my subconscious is repelling it because it thinks that if I acquire the money, then I'm going to become evil. And so I'm aware of that now. So now because I've got this self-love and self-confidence, I can exude that out, and that certainly attracts a lot of opportunity. So now, but I found myself where it's like I had all, money starting to kind of like circle around. And I'm like, okay, I have to now believe, see money in a different light.
Yeah.
I got to welcome it and say I deserve the abundance, and it doesn't make me a bad person. I know a lot of people that are millionaires, a couple billionaires, and it's like they're great people. Society just says they're bad because they're jealous.
Right.
But they're really actually very good people because they realize they get the money, like the money means nothing.
And I think also, like, as you come into money, it's also possible to, prove to yourself with actions on how you use it. Like, I think that's been one of the biggest blessings, like with the money that I've made post show, where it's like I make more money now than I've ever made in my life before, and I've been able to do wonderful things with it. And it's like, it is, yeah, I think that a lot of people have that. It is intimidating, and a lot of people have that negative mentality over like really rich people. Like, you think of like people being snooty or whatever, but I've met some of the most rich and generous people since, going on the show and having the experience I've had. And I'm like, truly happy, truly wealthy people like are giving, they're generous, their money does so much good in the world. So I think that's a really healthy way to like look at your money and move forward. And it's like just, self-fulfilling prophecy, like prove to yourself. And I know you know that, but it's like,
yeah, I mean, I've learned that ultimately I am kind of the decider of my own fate. And I think a lot of people play the victim mindset. And I certainly did as well. So I have empathy for people that play the victim mindset now. I will no longer play that game. Because when you claim to be the victim, and when you claim that life isn't fair, and you say that I'm not meant to be anything more than this, you will never become anything more than what that is. And so everything is so mental. And a lot of people don't want to come to terms with the fact that they're likely in the position that they're in because of their own actions. Now, I get it. Like, some people, it's like start up at a higher point in life and they have more money. But again, there's people that have a lot of money out the gate where they don't value money. And then because they can buy all these possessions and they have them all at a young age, they take them for granted. And they're like, well, what's there more to life? I don't need, the Lamborghini doesn't make me happy. Like, I don't have to work for the money. So if I don't have it to work for money, then really what do I have to work for in general? So there's problems at all different levels. I mean, people that don't have money say, well, if I had money, I'd be better off. It's like, no, because then if you had an abundance, maybe like you'd realize that money's actually wouldn't solve your problems. And then you'd have other problems.
Yeah.
So for me, like, yeah, it's just like understanding that I can control, my reactions, and ultimately, again, like if I played a part in this whole scandal, if I'd have just not responded to her message that night, I mean, that's because I was weak in that moment, and I could have been in a better mental state. I could have not been coping with marijuana at that point. But I gave myself grace. I was in the state. I did what I did. But like, that tells me, like, Clayton, you can avoid these things. You got to become better. You got to become stronger. You got to build yourself. And it's not to say that these things won't happen, but it's going to be a lot harder for them to happen. Whereas right now you're kind of just making it really simple for anybody to, shoot a DM over to me with a provocative photo, catch me in a vulnerable moment, and boom, and I'm inviting you over to my house.
Right.
Like, my parents are like, Clayton, you're no longer the old Clayton that nobody knew. Like, you have to look at yourself like you're kind of a celebrity. And I was like, but I'm not. I'm just a normal guy. Like, you're not anymore, though. You're not. Like, because I didn't want to take that on. I was like, I don't want to take on this celebrity mindset. I don't want to think I'm better. I'm not better than anybody. I was just the crazy guy on TV. But I fought against that. I was like, I don't want to be any different. I don't want anyone to view me that way. But the problem is that it was like people do.
But people do.
And I was pushing that away. I'm like, no, I'm not famous. No, I won't even say that. I was like, no, I don't use the F word. I would joke to people. I'm like, I don't use that F word. But I was literally like pushing that away and be like, no, I'm normal. And it's like, no, I have to accept the fact that it's like, Clayton, you're not. You're not. So you need to start acting more cautiously, because like, you are being viewed by certain people. Doesn't mean I view myself that way, but they do.
Yeah.
So if I now I'm being more careful, and that's going to only benefit me.
Absolutely.
It's safe to say that Clayton has been through the ringer as bait caught in this web of lies. There's no denying he's learned so much from this whole ordeal. But where does his story go from here?
Where we've left off with Jane Doe is you won the case. She has to pay your court fees. She's trying to reopen the case, but that's all pending, right?
Yeah.
And that's like as far that's as far as we've gone. What is next for you? I know you've mentioned you have exciting things. Is there anything you can share with the people that they can expect from you? I know you have a podcast. You've announced it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm about to release the first episode it's called Beyond the Cover. It's a men's mental health podcast.
Cool.
Just real men having real conversations is kind of like the tagline to it. So, getting, successful men to open up about a vulnerable moment in their life, where they, were down in the dumps, faced a tremendous amount of adversity, went through mental health struggles, and just having them vocalize that, and then talking about how they were able to climb their way out of those moments. I think the more men that can just share their individual stories, it'll resonate with men and women that watch it. I want to include women in it. I'm not like, it's just right now I'm like, men don't speak up about mental health like women do. So you have to kind of specialize in certain avenues. If you generalize too much, then like you're not, there's a point of specialization. It really like targets. And so I realized I was like, I need to really target this, and I'm a man. So like, how about I speak on something that I can speak on? I can't speak on women's mental health. I mean, I can speak about mental health, and I impact women as well. I want to find a way to bring in women. So I think maybe like if, I bring in a woman that's dating a very emotionally secure man, and she talks about what she loves about him and how he's vulnerable and the things that he does, because I think that's another misconception that we need to be able to rewire. Is men think that there's a lot of men that think that if they are emotional in front of a woman, that a woman's going to look at them as less than, and that's not the case.
Right.
I mean, I've went out on a couple dates, in the last few months where we started talking about mental health within 5-10 minutes.
Nice.
And like, both of these cases, these women said something along the lines of like, it's just so refreshing to have a man feel so comfortable enough to talk about this. I never have these conversations with men, and like this is, to me, is just it's attractive. I want you to know that I think it's really awesome you're doing this. Nice. And to me, it's like a superpower. And I was telling in this men's group recently, I was like, guys, women see this as like it's refreshing. Like, I feel that most men aren't talking about this, so this gives me like the upper hand where I get to go into these dates and like talk about it because I'm obsessed with it and I love it. But I'm like, that women don't,
and people like it.
It turns away a certain woman. It absolutely does. But
that's not the woman you want, though.
Right. You don't want that woman. If you're talking about that and you value mental health, you're pushing away the woman that doesn't really care about that, or they're not looking for that. You will push away certain people. My DMs were dry, but then like I started to keep speaking and being authentically myself, and I started attracting a different type of woman.
That's great.
And something closer to what it is I'm looking for. And I was like, that's what happens when you exude authenticity. That energy comes back. So I'm doing the podcast because that's authentically something that I'm really passionate about. It also allows me to do more listening, less talking, because I don't shut up. So like, it's nice to have a podcast where I get to like be the one to sit and listen, so I can grow. I can work on my attentive listening and also learn from their stories, which is awesome. So I'm super pumped about that. First episode's coming out soon, and then I also just joined. I'm really excited about it. I joined a podcast studio, same studio I'm doing my podcast out of, but we are like a full service podcast studio, so we get to bring other people's visions and passions to light.
Nice.
Which I love. Like, I've already got on the phones, and I'm like, it's so refreshing to call people that actually want to talk to me.
Yeah.
Because I do real estate, and people aren't really excited when I'm cold calling them. Right? They're like, you're the 50th agent to call me. And so it's negative energy. So, but like, now I call people and it's like, they're so pumped, and I'm like, I get to help you build your dream.
That's
like,
cool. So people can get in touch with you that want to start a podcast, and you can, like, you help develop it. Is that right?
Yeah, they have to be as of right now. They have to be in Arizona.
Okay.
But there's plans to expand. But yeah, cool. I mean, I'll have a video up here soon that'll like tell people where they can go if they're in Arizona and they want to have an in-person studio and all that. We'll cover all of that, and it's super high end, and it's just like really awesome to be a part of, because also like the people that are creating the vision, that are behind it, the owner and all the people he's hired, incredible people. All love him. All are big into mental health.
Nice.
I did a couple breathwork sessions with him.
Okay, cool. That's fun.
Yeah. So I'm in a really great spot. I have so much support around me.
Good.
So many authentic people that are kind of vibrating on the same frequency that I am.
That's so good.
And it's given me this sense of community, which is just fortifying my strength, where I feel that I'm like, I never have to go back to ever playing the facade of being something that I wasn't, because this real version of me now is being loved and accepted by people, and that's all that matters. It doesn't have to be a vast majority. It's just like enough for me to feel valued.
That's awesome. I feel like we could keep going forever, but I know we're running out of time. But we have a game, like a fun little game, and then we have one more segment as well, just a quick one. But okay, this is red flag, green flag, scammer edition.
Okay.
Okay. You just have to say red flag or green flag.
Okay.
They know you from the show.
Red flag.
is in the same line of work as you?
Well, I do a few different things. It depends.
Okay, wait. Influencing.
I would say actually green flag because
Okay.
I do influence now. Like
Yeah.
when you and you knew I was so anti-influencing,
I know.
but I've come around to it because
know.
now I started dancing. Didn't think that was going to kick up,
Popped off.
but it popped off, and people started to like it. And then all of a sudden, like I was able to convey my mental health message through dancing because it does help me therapeutically.
There you go.
And so I was like, wait, actually, this influencing stuff is kind of fun when you get to post what you want.
Yeah, just post what you want.
Yeah. So now I actually kind of like it.
Good.
So
It's like, who
so-
cares?
And influencers understand what other influencers go through.
Yeah.
So
Beautiful.
I would say green flag now.
Green flag. Okay. Okay. What about real estate?
If someone's doing real estate,
Yeah, red flag. green flag.
no, I'll say green flag because there's some relatability there.
Okay, and then podcast sales.
It'd be a green flag. Yeah,
Okay, cool.
I'd say
Okay.
probably all of it's a green flag.
Green
yeah.
flags. Green flags. Ladies, the DMs are open. I think.
They are. Yeah, they are.
Yeah, please, ladies. Okay. Okay, they make you a playlist after the first date.
I think it's thoughtful. I would say green flag.
Cool. Love that. Oh, says they love you after a month.
Green flag.
Okay.
I'm not a big. You know what? I've.
When you know, you know.
I went on a date with someone recently, and I just don't think it'll work out because we're just in different stages of our life. But I said at the end of that date, I was like, I really like you. I was like, I just really like your energy, and I think like you're an incredible person. But I feel like I wouldn't have told someone I liked them until like 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 dates in.
Yeah.
But I just like said that, and it was like she was like, I like you too. I really like think you're an incredible person, and like who knows if this could work out between us. It seems like right now we're in different chapters of our life. She's like, but like I really do like you. I think like you're a great person. I could see potential there, and it was just refreshing to be like.
Just to be open and honest.
I just felt it, and I was like, I felt their energy. I'm like, there's no timeline. Like, I don't need to wait a month to tell you I love you. Or,
Yeah.
like, if I feel something, I feel something, and I just let it out.
Love that.
So, yeah, sure, green flag for the
Green
love.
flag.
If it was like a day, I'd probably call it a red flag. A week, probably still a red flag. A month is probably fair.
Okay. Okay, someone who's adamant about knowing each other's phone passwords, like passcodes to get in.
Ooh, red flag.
Red flag. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Has dated someone else or multiple people in the public eye.
Green flag. It doesn't really,
Okay.
yeah.
Not gonna scare him away. Was also on a reality dating show.
There were points where all of these things could have been red flags,
Yeah.
but currently I see it as a green flag.
Okay. Oh, well, probably the same. Was on a reality show, but not about dating.
Green flag.
Okay. Okay, and now we have our final segment: live, laugh, lie. If you could live one part of your life again, what would you do differently?
Nothing.
Love that.
I know. I really believe that this journey that I've been on is the journey meant for me, not one step in one direction or the other.
Beautiful. Is there anything that makes you laugh when you think back on your story?
Yeah, just how much of an idiot I am sometimes. Like, and I mean that in a loving manner.
Yeah.
I'm kind of I'm a teddy bear, but I'm a dweeb. There's a term, I think, himbo maybe.
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know if I know the exact terminology of it, but like,
Put it in the show notes.
I mean well, but I'm just kind of, sometimes it's like, dude.
That's
Like,
fair. Like,
I just like I think I have a good heart, but I'm also it's just like
Absolutely.
some days it's just like someone needs to smack me upside the head.
absolutely.
And so I think I find humor in the fact that I'm smart, but not as smart as I think I am some days.
Okay, love that. Okay, this is an interesting one. I'm curious what you'll say. What is the worst lie you've ever told?
It's probably something I haven't owned up to.
Or what is a lie you're comfortable sharing?
I also though am not a big liar. Like
You're not.
I-
I've said that.
I'm way too honest. Like I don't really hide anything. Yeah, I feel like I feel like I'm an open book. I'll say anything.
He's not a liar. You heard it
I'm
here
not,
first.
yeah.
Actually, no, you heard it here first because I
You
said
did.
it.
No, I even shouted that out in a podcast or something. I said
It's true.
it meant a lot. It meant a lot.
I
I was like that meant a lot when I heard you say that. You're like, he might be a lot of things, but he's not a liar.
well, and I didn't mean that in a mean way.
No, I know.
But like, it's so true. Like, I've dated so many people that little white lies here and there, and I am a stickler. I am like, if somebody lies to me, I will cut them out of my life so fast. Like, it's the worst quality, I think, in a person. And you told the truth always.
Yeah, I mean, I am what I am, and I really feel like I come with my story, and why should I hide certain things? I mean,
Yeah.
I think there's certain things that somebody might ask me, and I'm like, do you really want to know that? Maybe, maybe not. But like, ultimately, I feel like if someone really wants to poke around, like, fine, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
What do you want to know?
Fair enough. As you've been this entire podcast, you've been very open. So thank you. I am so grateful that one, like you said earlier, like I'm so glad that we have the rapport we have, that we can do this. And I'm glad that you are talking about this and talking about mental health. I feel like I'm so proud of you. I know you're proud of yourself. You've accomplished so much and you've persevered through so much. Like you've just been handed a tough deck of cards, or tough hand of cards. And I'm really proud of you, and I think you've done really well with it. And I can't thank you enough for like being open to sharing this story. It is very intimate, and I know we've laughed, but it's also like very heavy, and I know it's taken a big toll on you at times. So grateful that you can sit here and like laugh through the pain with me. And thank you for coming on my show. And everyone go listen to his new podcast. Remind me the name again?
Beyond the Cover.
Beyond the Cover. Oh, because the book cover. Oh, okay.
Yeah, like going within the page.
Okay.
Well,
like
going within the pages of like, so what you see at face value. I bring on
Yeah.
a lot of successful men, but it's like, hey, at face value on the cover, they look like they have it all sorted out. But once we dissect the inner pages, you go beyond the cover. That's where you see like the real story and who they are and why they are the way that they are.
I love that. Okay, go listen to Beyond the Cover and follow Clayton on Instagram, TikTok. Check out the dancing videos. They're so fun. Thank you for joining us on Live, Laugh, Lies.
Thank you, Susie.
This podcast has been brought to you by Podcast Nation.